What's up, guys? Mr. Roland here, and welcome to another installation of Art Design. Today we're going to be making a beefed up and enhanced version of the classic Stussy S design, and this is like a worldwide phenomenon. Like kids all over the world somehow figure out how to draw this S, and then you see it just doodled everywhere, like in notebooks, liner of their notes. It's pretty crazy how everybody somehow figured this out. I think I was maybe in third or fourth grade when I figured out how to draw this, and it wasn't until later in high school that I figured out what 1 point perspective was, and then I learned how to combine the things and then make 3D lettering, or to make it look like your lettering's coming off the page. So I want you to take this design and the 1 point perspective and then apply this to anything that you want. So I'm going to illustrate these things using the Stussy S. You can totally follow along and copy that, or you can be like, ooh, I have a design in mind where I think that 1 point perspective is really going to work out. So for the Stussy S, if you can draw a straight line, you can draw this, and that's why I like this, and that's why this series for this summer school session, it's all been simple things that you really don't need a ton of skill to do to make look cool. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make 3 lines. And then below that, you're going to make 3 lines. Okay, and I'm doing this with pen, obviously, so that it shows up nicely on the camera. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Oh, let's see. There we go. Okay, so we got our 3 lines. Now we're going to put a roof on it. So it's going to meet in the middle. So a little A-frame, just a triangle at the top. And we're going to do the same thing at the bottom. And now you're starting to be like, oh, now I know what you're talking about. Yep. And then now we're going to connect from the left here to the middle and from the middle to the right. And you can do a variation. Some people like to connect from here to here, from corner to corner. I personally like to go straight across and make it look a little more boxy. So there you go. So we have kind of like this very geometric looking S shape. And that's fine. I mean, you can go ahead and just, that's it, and you're done. You just like the way that that looks. You could fill in patterns inside of it. You could color it in. But we want to kind of beef this up and make it appear as if it's jumping off of the page. So we want to make it look like it's 3-dimensional, it has form, and it's receding back into space. So we're going to use a technique called 1-point perspective here. So what I'm going to do is off to the side, I'm going to put it in the middle. I'm going to put 1 dot over here. You guys see that? So that's my 1 point. And now, taking a straight edge, and you can eyeball this. You don't have to use a straight edge, but if you want it to look a little more precise, you take your straight edge. And let's see, I'm going to do this with a pencil too, so you guys can see the difference. I'm going to do this with this red so that you can see, because I'm going to go over it with pen once it's done, because I don't want the whole thing to be dark. So I'm going to connect point to point here. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to connect essentially any point that'll connect to it, I'm going to connect. So this corner, that connects back to it. So let's connect that. This corner will connect to it. Let's go ahead and connect that. This corner will connect to it. This corner will connect to it. So they're all I'm doing, just cheating. I'm just going straight back to this 1 point. And just by doing that, it starts to look as if it's almost kind of jumping out into space. Let's see if this corner will connect to it. And it will. So we need to make sure that we connect that one too. That one doesn't. What about this one back in here? Let's see. Oh, that one connects too. So I need to do that. Okay. Now, if you wanted to keep that as part of your design, you totally can. You can keep all of that distance and do that, and it makes it look like it's going back into infinity. But say we want to make it look like the S is just kind of free floating off of the page, then what we're going to do is we're going to copy the exact pattern of this S just further down the side here. So like literally if you were to take your straight edge and then just, or go right here, and then just slide it over so it's the same angle. So that's what we're going to do right there. And then we know this one's straight up and down. Then we want to match this angle here. Match this angle. So it just comes out like that. There we go. So there we go. Now we can go in and kind of darken up the outlines here. Okay. So there we go. So now we have a freestanding Stussy S here using this 1-point perspective. And you can literally do this with any letter that you come up with. You could do this with shapes. You could say you're drawing a building and you want to have it look like the side is receding off down the block and make it look three-dimensional. You can apply this 1-point perspective technique as well. But one thing that I think really enhances this is if we add value to it. So what we've done is we've taken our flat, just lines and shapes of the face of the S, and we've added lines coming off the back with this 1-point perspective to make it appear as if it's receding back into space and that it has form. But it still kind of looks just bland. It's just flat white with some black outline. So let's go ahead and add some value to this. And when you want to shade, value is essentially shading. Okay, value is the fancy way of saying if something has darkness or lightness and what amount. You have to make a decision in your drawing because you're trying to recreate the real world, is where is your light source coming from? So I want to pretend that I have a light source coming in from right here. Say the sun is up here and it's shining light down onto the face of this S. So I want this S, the front part, to remain white, and then everything behind it over here will be kind of in this cast shadow. And the darkest places will be underneath. So this is going to be really dark, this will be really dark, and this place will be really dark. So you're going to see. And for something to look realistic, you want it to go through a full value range from really dark to really light. So I'll show you how to do this, and you want to do this using hatching lines. So essentially just making straight lines that all follow the same direction here. And this is where people get, they think like, oh, I'm going to shade it in. I can just kind of color it in any direction I want. It looks okay when you do that. It looks a little childish. It looks a little unprofessional. Because what's happening is it's throwing the viewer's eye off. So if you want things to look really crisp, you want the grain of your shading marks to all go in the same direction. So I'm going to tilt this so that I can have my shading lines all go. And I'm following essentially the lines of the 1-point perspective. So all of my shading lines actually go back there, and I'm going to do the same thing here on this side. Same thing here. So it helps the S stand out a little bit, but it still looks a little flat. Now I only have 2 value tones. I have this white and I have this kind of gray area on the side. So I want to make it look a little more realistic, so that means I need to add more value and more variation in the value. I want to have some darks and some lights and some in-between values. So once again, I said the ones that were below, because if the light's coming from above, it's casting shadows on the bottom. So I'm going to make whatever's underneath the darkest. So I'm just going to go all black actually right there. Here I'm going to kind of fade it a little bit. So I'm going to go from a really dark, a little bit of a light at the bottom where like the reflection might be hitting it. Do the same thing here. And then I'm going to cross hatch. And cross hatching is just essentially changing the direction of the line. So I'm going to go completely across it here, just straight up and down. There we go. So now I have, let's see, put a little more on this one. And then this should be kind of dark right here in this corner. There we go. So now what I have are midtones and extreme darks and extreme lights. So I have a full range of values. And so that's why it looks three-dimensional for two reasons. One, it has form and perspective because of this 1-point perspective that I used. That creates the illusion that it's receding back into space. But the second thing is that I have value. And this is where kids get most confused, is they think, oh, I have like a light gray and a dark gray, and that's enough value. No, you want to have extreme white, extreme dark, and then all of the shades in between. So you can see I have a gray here, a medium, dark to black to absolute white. So I've gone through this full range because that's how the real world works. I mean, look at my hand right now, for example. You can see I have really dark shadows in certain places, and then I have highlights where the light is hitting it more. Same thing with my pen that you can see. So yeah, there you go. We just mimicked reality, and this is once again something that you can just simply doodle into your sketchbook, and then you can have fun now creating your own alphabet. You could spell your name out like this. You could do your family member's name for their birthday next time you want to illustrate someone's birthday card or Christmas card, or for any holiday. You could go ahead and use this technique to make it look as if the lettering is coming right off of the page and popping out at them. So it's this nice little extra things that it's just more tools in your tool pocket, in your toolbox to help you as an artist. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed.